invaluable. Her understanding and knowledge of the rules, I think, is exceptionally valuable. I think she is fair. I think that she is open to sharing power, which is something that is very important to me in a chair. I believe that even though we don't always agree or vote the same way, I think that's actually a very healthy way to lead. And I really do think that, I mean, I think there's the experience, the understanding of the rules, the process, but also a very, very deep sense of fairness that I really appreciate. And yeah, so I think you would be a great chair for that reason.
Okay, Deb, you seconded?
Yeah, I think William is fabulous, but I also really appreciate the work he's done on policy and thinking about the ways in which leadership can be broadened. I think I would look forward to him continuing to lead on policy should he choose to, as well as distribute the opportunities amongst other towns. So I think Sarah is very structured, and I think she runs a tight meeting, and I think we could use that. I'm nothing against William or Sarah Bass or myself. I just think she's got a very firm sense of the clock and what needs to be accomplished. And I've appreciated her interest and her expertise in the financial part of the region, which is something that we need to continue to really develop from a structural level, foundational level. So I think that her leadership in those areas would be good.
Awesome. Thanks. Sarah Bess for William.
Yep. So I nominated William. I think he has an excellent grasp on the larger picture, both with the work he's done at policy and the negotiations with the unions. I feel like his voice is fair and consistently about what is in the best interest of our students. And I think as school committee members, that is hugely important. I also think he has worked really hard to build relationships in many facets that are a strength and an asset. So I think he would be a great chair.
Thank you. Bridget?
Yes, so I've just had the pleasure of working with William on so many subcommittees along the way on things that are so valuable for our student well-being along the line from Title IX through SEAC and now on policy. And my entire experience of working with William has been that he's generative, he's inclusive, he really looks for the common ground in the room and pulls people together. And I feel like not only is he structured, but he's very thoughtful about the way he's structured. Like, he takes the big picture and also integrates the details. So there's all of those pieces, and I just feel like it also has two other aspects I'm thinking about. One is sort of speaks back to the community for me about what this committee has represented, what we came into office about, and what we've meant across time, which is why I have this tradition of nominating William. And then the other thing is, I think it is good, you know, we're dominated by Amherst, okay? I'd love to have an Amherst chair, and I think Sarah could do a great job, so. But I think that there is something about having representation from all the towns.
Any further discussion? Laura Jane?
I didn't mean to say that I didn't think William would be a great chair.
I don't think William received it that way. No further discussion. Any need for clarification? I'm looking at you, Deb.
No.
Okay, good. All right, I will go across and call each member and ask you who you are voting for. Hopefully this is the easiest way to get it done. So I will flip-flop. I will start. Laura Jane.
Sarah Marshall.
Sarah Bess.
William?
Sarah
Myself.
William.
William.
I knew it was going to go that way. 7 to 6 chair. Deb,
Sarah Marshall.
Tim,
William.
Bridget,
William.
Andrew,
William.
Anna.
William.
At this time, I hand it over to you, William, the new chair of the region.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So the next seat we need to reorganize would be the vice chair. So I would take nominations for vice chair. Deb,
I'd like to nominate Bridget.
and do I have a second?
Second.
By Anna.
Do you accept?
I do accept, yeah.
Okay. Any other nominations? I would nominate my shadow, or the person I've been shadowing. Sarah Bess. Any seconds?
Second.
Thank you, Anna. Any other nominations?
Does Sarah Bess accept?
Oh, does Sarah Bess
She
accept?
does.
Okay.
Do we speak of ourselves in the third person?
Sometimes.
Laura Jane?
I'll nominate Sarah Marshall.
Sarah Marshall? Thanks.
I decline.
Any other nominations? Bridget, would you like to speak?
Yeah, I think that, I'd like to be vice chair. I feel like I could work well with William. We work well together. I also think like it's important. I think there's a lot of networks of communication happening behind the scenes, and it's probably good to mix them up a little bit and be, again, Amherst is the majority of the thing, so to have some voice from Amherst is good. And I don't know, I think I am also someone who really listens well and takes in input from others and can come together in a really collaborative way. And I, as vice chair of Amherst, I have experience in running a meeting, so I can do it if William's out. So I think that's really the job.
Thank you. Sarah Bess?
Sure. I mean, I've been chair of the region for the last 4 years, I think. I am happy to continue as support as vice chair. I have a strong organizational skills that I have worked to really bring some back-end organization to the committees, which I am happy to continue and support William in doing that. Also, I can run a meeting.
That you can. Does the people who nominated the individuals want to speak?
Sure. And then I think Bridget is somebody who really seeks to bring people together and see things from all sides. I think she is collaborative and willing to listen in a way that I really value as a thought partner, but just as a person on this committee. I think her depth of experience in education is a gift to this committee. And when she just speaks about various educational issues, it informs our conversation in a way that I don't think I've seen before. And I believe, like I said, in broadening leadership opportunities. I think Sarah Bess has done a heroic job in bringing this committee to where we are, but I also think it is refreshing to have changes in leadership and changes in perspective to kind of expand on what the committee can do and how it looks at issues.
Anna, I think you seconded.
I did,
Do you want to talk, or are you okay?
I seconded both.
You seconded both. You want to?
I'm good.
Seconded both.
And I
Just as
nominated.
long as it's not you.
Yeah, I wasn't ready for this, but anyway, I nominated Sarah Bess, and I think that just where we are today speaks volumes of her leadership. And so it would be, as a chair, it would. But they're both like I work well with most people, but especially Bridget and especially Sarah Bess. So I feel like both would be very supportive. But so that's all I can say. Any other discussion before we vote? Tim?
What are the responsibilities and the day-to-day of the vice chair?
When I was vice chair, I would offer my assistance to the chair if needed, but really the only time you ever actually did something was when the chair couldn't be there, then you would fill in for the meetings.
And Union, I'm sorry, no, not Union 26.
That's the other one.
Yeah. But there's not much else really that the vice chair, in my opinion, does.
There is a policy.
There is a policy, yes.
The policy's the same as Amherst. It just says that you'll take over the meetings when the other
Right, I
person.
think that's the only thing it
Something like
says,
that.
right? I don't think there's any more depth to it than that.
Yeah.
Lord
Is
Jane?
there a safe room just for the chair? I mean, there's, I also think Sarah Beth has done a wonderful job of being a leader for the last 4 years, and she's been able to manage me, which is no small feat, so I will give her lots of credit for that. However, I do think that this is what I said about power sharing before. I do think it's really critical that we disrupt existing systems all the time, because otherwise we get into situations in which power gets entrenched, and that is the last thing we want, because I think we want a collaborative and what's the word? There's a word that's like escaping me, but Bridget really embodies this kind of like an openness and collaboration. Not that this is not against anyone. This is just saying, like, I do think it would be, and also I think you just got elected as the chair of Pelham, so you'd be like a lot of power, which is like, consolidation. I don't want to consolidate power. I want power to be spread out, and so I think it would be really valuable to have someone fresh and in that role, even though it doesn't sound like it is more than kind of decorative.
Can I speak to that really quickly?
Please.
Which is, I've been vice chair for Jen Chow and then Deb, and I think it depends what the chair needs and how much they lean on you and how much they reach out for support. And I've been flexible in both instances to, Jen knew what she was doing from the start. Deb learned as she went, and we really partnered together, and they're both fantastic chairs, and I just like to be supportive and back people up where I can. So I'll bring what you need, William, if I do it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, we're ready for vote. Sarah Beth?
Sarah Beth.
Laura Jane?
Bridget.
Myself, Sarah Beth. My mind has gone totally blank, and I apologize. Sarah Marshall. Sarah.
Bridget.
Jeb?
Bridget.
Tim?
Sarah Bess.
In my mind, it's like Andrew. I would say Andy, but Andrew?
Never Andy. Bridget.
Deb? You already voted.
Anna's next.
No.
Oh,
Bridget's
next. Oh, okay.
It's going back and forth confuses me, sorry.
I'll vote for myself.
Anna?
I'll vote for Bridget.
Did you tally that?
I did, yeah.
Spread everything out.
I did not keep track.
It's Bridget.
How is that
6 to
spread
3.
out then?
So it's 6-3, so Bridget is the vice chair.
Okay.
Okay.
And then do we have a secretary of the region?
It's,
No.
well, yes, but
But
it's
it is
Megan.
appointed.
It's,
Megan.
it's not it's a separate thing, because we're a regional committee.
Okay. So that finishes our reorganization, and we are jumping into the meeting. So public comment, I heard earlier we did not receive any public comment,
We did not.
and there is no one here for public comment. So we will move on to new and continuing business.
Point of order, is anyone online?
This is
I do not believe anyone is online. Megan, is anyone online?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No.
So then subcommittee assignments. So I need to pull up the chart of the subcommittee assignments.
I can edit as we go.
And we
Okay.
I have that in
typically
essence.
Good sign.
talk about this. So the first one is the budget, audit, and subcommittee. Currently, we have Sarah Marshall. So the first subcommittee we have is the budget, audit, and audit subcommittee. We currently have Sarah Marshall, Sarah Bess, and Tim Shores. Are those three individuals still wanting to be on that?
I would like to continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, would you continue on that one?
Yes, please.
And Sarah Bess?
Sure, but I will happily give it up if somebody else would like it.
Does anyone else have an interest on being on the Budget and Audit Subcommittee?
We meet this Friday.
At dawn?
At 11.
Okay, as no one else is raising their hand, then Sarah Bess, you get to stay, if you accept that seat. Okay. And then joint policy, the region sends 2 people forward. Currently, it is myself, and it is Anna. I would like to stay on that.
I'll continue.
And do you want to continue? Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to be on that subcommittee, or is that okay if Anna and myself stay? Okay, so the 2 of us will stay. The next subcommittee is the Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee. We currently have Laura Jane, Sarah Bess, and Tim.
I'd like off the committee.
Point.
Yes.
Laura Jane is an Amherst School Committee appointment.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Right, only Tim is regional.
Oh, you're right, so only Tim is regional. So Tim, do you want to stay on that as the regional rep?
I would like to, but I also am open to someone else taking it on if they would like to.
Does anyone else want to be on the Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee?
No.
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
it? Would this be the right time to change membership? Given that,
It is the time that we've historically have changed.
well, yeah, but, I mean, we're in the process. I don't know if the committee has,
This is the only time.
The,
Go ahead.
the committee's work for this version is fairly done. So it is actually probably the best time to change, because then whatever the next committee iteration will be, we'll have the opportunity to work with the superintendent to build those goals and so.
Thank you. So does anyone else want to be on the Superintendent Evaluation Subcommittee? No. Okay, then Tim will stay as the rep for the region. Then we have an update from SEAC on our meeting tonight. Currently, our rep from SEAC is myself and Bridget.
Are you going to do the appointments to,
advisory committee?
oh, I see. Are you doing the agenda item, or are you going to continue with the appointment?
I was going to continue with, it's the
Oh, okay.
agenda item that we have
Yeah, it's
is the subcommittee assignments.
Okay, thank you.
So I was going to finish that. Do you currently want to stay, Bridget?
I would love if someone else would be interested, but if not, I can stay.
Does anyone else like to be on the School Equity Advisory Committee? Andy? Andrew? Andrew?
Yes, I would be
Okay.
interested.
And there is another seat also, because I was on that also, so is someone else would like to be on that?
I'm on it from Amherst.
Oh, that's right.
Anyone else?
So-
Okay, so right now, we just have Andrew on there. Because I have not been actively on that, so I don't want to put myself on there again and not be active. We do have an update for them coming up later in the meeting. And if anyone else would like to join that, they can
I'll
send me an
stay
email.
with it. I'm okay to
You'll
stay
stay
with it.
with it, Bridget, for right now? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So just clarification for minutes, Bridget and Andrew are,
Bridget and Andrew.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
thank you.
And then the next one, sorry,
Hold on. Trying to
we're updating on board
update
docs.
as we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
So we have the contract negotiating team for APA, the 3 units. Currently, it is Sarah Bess and myself. We are still negotiating that, kind of. So I think it would be beneficial for the 2 of us to stay. Does anyone else have any concerns with that? Okay, so the 2 of us will stay. Oh, go ahead.
So there's some, in particular with negotiating, there is going to be some value in setting someone up for learning the process. And if the both of you continue to do it, others won't be able to pick it up.
So this is my first round of negotiations, and this is Sarah Bess's third round of negotiations. So I feel like I'm learning from her,
So,
but it is only every 3 years. So yeah, do you want to speak to that?
yeah, so I would like to stay on this to finish. We are still in the middle of the stipends, so I would like to stay continuing this. However, I'm more than willing to give it up as soon as the stipends are over. It is a heavy lift and a lot of work. But
And I think we can, we have the ability to reorganize the subcommittees at any time. It just has to be put on the agenda. So maybe we can revisit this after we're done with these negotiations, and I will see if anyone else wants to be on it after we finish the current negotiations. Yes.
And additionally, there are other negotiating units that that region represents. So like AFSCME, APAA, UFCW. So there's opportunities on different levels for representation with
Yes.
all the unions. I just want to say that because I know we hit APEA, but like Anna was APAA. Jennifer Shaw was for AFSCME. I think Sarah Marshall, you did one. So like there are different, yeah.
So the next one is contract negotiations team for AFSCME, which currently is Laura Jane. Do you want to stay?
I would love to. I haven't had a chance to do it yet.
Does anyone else would like to feel strongly to join that? Okay, then Laura Jane will stay.
Can you
The next
fix her
one-
name?
I did.
The next one is for APAA.
It just takes a minute to update, but I did. You had a bonus A. I apologize.
Thank you. I used to
and
put an E at the end.
Currently, it's Anna Hurd. Anna, do you want to stay
Yes.
on that?
I can.
Okay. Does anyone else have any interest? Okay, then Anna will stay on that. The next one is for UFCW, and it's currently Sarah Marshall.
Happy to stay, but it's not the learning curve that APEA is. So, so if someone else would like to, I also don't think it will be negotiating for another year, maybe? Not totally sure, but.
Tim?
Well, if there's nothing to do this year, I'm not going to volunteer for that.
Okay. So Sarah Marshall stays then. The Town of Amherst Budget Coordinating Group and the Regional School Committee Representative. Currently, we have Anna Hurd and then Tim as backup. Anna, do you want to stay on that? And Tim as backup?
Sure.
Are you comfortable being backup, Tim?
So we've had one meeting
Yeah.
for this, right?
Yeah.
In November, I think.
It gets more intense at certain points in the budget cycle. So,
But we had a full budget cycle and there was just one meeting.
There were others.
Okay.
There was
Could-
about 5.
there were a bunch of them, but we got put on the committees later in
They
this
didn't do
cycle.
good with scheduling.
Yeah, it was.
Just like there was one that Shannon got the invite like the day of or day before. Like it was not good with scheduling this year. So last year, my first year, I had like 4 or 5 BCG meetings. This year, it was like 1, and it was at the last minute we were told that we were needed, so.
Go ahead, Deb.
Let's work on that because it's a really important opportunity for us to have our voices heard before it comes down to sheets and dollars. And I think Anna has done a really nice job of pushing where it needed to be pushed on. And I think anybody would be able to do that. But I will, if I stay on it, oh, I'm on the Amherst. Yeah, I'm not on it. Sarah Marshall's on it. But maybe we can make sure that the
For Amherst.
right. Let's just make sure that the the communication is better.
Okay, and this is for the Town of Amherst Budget Coordinating Group Regional School Committee rep. Or you want it for the,
For Amherst.
Sarah is
Right,
the Amherst.
but I would,
oh, okay, the Amherst rep.
I
Okay.
would say when it's important to have, to be at the table is like in September or October, because the town then develops its budget guidelines that give the percentages
Okay.
of increase. So if we want to argue for something different, it's good to be there early.
Okay, thank you. So Anna, you still would accept it?
I can do
And
it.
Tim, can you accept it as backup?
I don't see a need to be the backup.
Would someone else like to be backup?
I could do the backup.
Okay, thank you,
I'm
Bridget.
happy to, yeah.
So we will change that to Bridget. The next one is the regional warrant authorization. It is currently myself and Deb as backup. And I think Deb has backed me up once over the last like 2 years.
I don't think so. I backed up Sarah.
You backed up me once. I
Okay.
remember. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end when yeah, okay. Yes.
I'm fine doing it, but if someone else wants to do it, I'm also fine with someone else doing it.
I'd be interested in learning that role.
Okay. So do you want to do that, Deb?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, does anyone else want to do that one? Okay, so then we'll put Deb there.
Do you want to be back?
I'll be backup. Then it's the clerical merit award selection. Myself, I was there we just had a meeting and we picked out some individuals. Would anyone else like to be on there?
I heard that committee is really fun.
I'd be happy to be on that.
Is anyone else?
I think Sarah.
Okay, so we'll put Sarah Marshall there. It'll be like, we had our meeting a couple of weeks ago, so it'll be next year, a couple of weeks before, if that makes sense. So the next one is the MASC delegate. It's currently Sarah Bess.
I will continue as that. I intend to go this fall.
Okay. Anyone else have an issue with that? No? Okay. The next one is the professional leave request subcommittee. Oh, and it's just the appropriate chair, so it's me. Never mind. The next one is the collaborative representative. It's currently Deb Leonard
No, it's not. I am the rep.
for the region.
And Amherst, I get 2 votes.
It wasn't updated here. Do you want to continue doing that for the collaborative?
Sure.
Okay. Is everyone okay with that? Okay. The next one is the CPAC liaison, and that is currently Tim. Do you want to continue that seat?
I would like to continue that seat.
Okay. Does anyone else want that seat? No? Then Tim stays. The next one is the LPAC liaison. It's currently Sarah Marshall.
Happy to continue or
Okay.
or give that up. It has once conflicted with the collaborative. So I couldn't be it. in
Does
2
anyone
places.
else want to be the impact liaison?
Can I say the meetings are less than monthly? It's maybe every 6 weeks or so.
Okay.
It's a multilingual parental advisory committee.
Okay.
Just listen.
Okay, so will leave Sarah Marshall as the impact
Wait,
liaison?
I have a question.
Oh, yeah,
It
go
is- It's, what is it currently called? The multilingual
Yeah,
parent?
but it's for our bilingual families, but it's our multilingual parent advisory committee.
Is,
Yeah, because
That's what
impact multilingual parent advisory council.
lingual parent.
So MPAC is really
3 different
the right,
Yeah.
okay.
So the next one is the physical sustainability subcommittee. We currently have Deb, Anna, and Bridget.
I'd like to continue with that one.
Okay, Deb?
I would too. I think we need a new chair. But
That is up for the subcommittee to decide in
But-
their meeting.
being the chair, I'm recognizing that I am falling down on that job, but I would like to continue to
You would like to
participate in
continue
that
on the job, okay.
subcommittee.
Anna, would you like to also continue on the sustainability subcommittee?
I'm happy to,
Okay.
yeah.
Does anyone else,
I'm okay relinquishing it, but
does anyone else have a desire to be on that subcommittee? Then those 3 individuals will stay, and if you reorganize, we can update it on board docs. The next one is the operating protocols subcommittee. It's currently Andrew, Sarah, and Sarah Bess. Go ahead.
I actually think we should think about abandoning this subcommittee. It hasn't met, the work that the subcommittee pushed forward was met with minimal acceptance by the larger committee. So I'm not sure it is worth the time to continue with it. So if the rest of the committee is acceptable to that suggestion, I'm happy to make a motion.
Andrew, do you want to speak to that?
Well, yes, we haven't met, so it's hard to say. But I'm interested in doing that work, but I understand if it's a tough one, not to battle.
No, that's,
Sarah Marshall, do you have anything to say since you're on that subcommittee?
I think, goodness. I think perhaps its charge should be revisited and maybe get some very specific direction from the full committee. And so we don't end up doing things we think will be helpful and find that no one agrees with us. So I'm open to staying on it, but without some specific guidance.
Okay.
How do you feel about disbanding the committee?
Anna,
That was,
do you want to speak?
I was just saying that the question that you had asked her was, how do you feel about disbanding the committee?
I think,
Right.
I think the committee as a whole would need to decide whether there's, there's anything they want the operating protocol committee to do. It's not up to me if the committee doesn't, if this full committee doesn't see a need for it, then
So,
fine.
I would propose that we keep the subcommittee for now, and then I can add that to a future agenda to look at what that subcommittee's charge is, and we can revisit it at that time.
We can remind everybody what it was we were hoping to do or thought we should do, and we can discuss, how
Are
to
you
move
okay with
forward.
that, Sarah Marshall?
Yes, I am.
Are you okay with that, Andrew?
Sure.
Are you okay with that, Sarah Bess? Or do you not want to be on it?
I am happy to give up my seat on it. If there's work that, yeah. There's hands.
Deb,
I'd be interested in giving it a spin.
giving it a spin?
A spin.
So then we will take Sarah Bess off and we'll put you on, and I will note that we will have that as a future committee agenda item. The next one, oh, Tim.
Disregard.
Okay. The next one we have is the Amherst Media Board of Directors representative, and we currently have Andrew. Do you want to continue that, Andrew?
I love it.
Okay. Does anyone want to take that away from Andrew? No. Okay. Yes, Dr. Z.
On the listing, does that include the regional agreement? And in a meeting or so back, we talked about possibly creating a subcommittee that would determine that work, and it's not on the listing. Oh, okay, bye.
Okay, so I think that is all of the subcommittee assignments. I don't think, because we don't have on the agenda creation of new subcommittees, we can have a creation of new subcommittees today. But we can talk about that in the future agenda planning. So the next thing on our list today is request for approval to adjustment to professional leave.
That's me.
And it's getting pulled up on the board also. Go ahead.
Earlier this school year, we received one request for professional leave. It was brought before the school committee. What has occurred is that the program that the individual had originally planned on attending, UMass is not having that program, I think, as originally planned. Well, the institution is not having that program, and so she's identified a comparable program, but there would need to be some adjustment to her leave. I was unable to meet with this individual to get additional details to answer any possible questions. So I just decided to attach the letter so that I would be able to have a response for them.
Sarah Marshall?
I believe this educator asks, or says that, well, I found another program, but it doesn't give me the licensure I want, so can I please postpone a year? So maybe there are two questions for us to answer. But in thinking about whether this educator could postpone her leave, I think I need to ask Dr. Z, has any staffing decisions been made on the assumption that she wouldn't be here that now would be difficult if she's not on leave, as was expected she would be? Is that create any administrative difficulty?
The gap that it creates is that originally we had planned for her to be gone from the beginning of this year to the end of next year in terms of from fall to spring, summer. Her current request takes her out from January to December, which is a shift versus this coming 2026, like fall time to June of next year. So that's the shift. We would have to adjust staffing in terms of looking for someone for the start of next school year, for the second half of the upcoming school year, and then the start of the following school year. But we had originally planned to hold, the position is hers, so whoever came in would have to come on an interim basis.
So it doesn't create any particular difficulty for you? Okay.
Not right now.
Any other questions or discussion?
I guess I
Bridget?
would just say it seemed very reasonable to try and do what the person requested and what their preference is. It's a more prestigious one to go to UMass Lowell than to Fitchburg, and it has more what they're interested in studying, so that's better benefit to the district, and it also, like, if there's no impact, then I'm in support.
Deb, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, last time we got into tied ourselves into all sorts of knots before we realized that we really didn't have much latitude in this decision. So I think that still stands. If it doesn't create a financial or a logistical problem for staffing, I think we
I was
should
gonna just say,
approve it.
the financial pieces cannot be in consideration of
Okay.
this placement.
Right, so then I think
I
there's
don't
really
have any information on the new program to give to you. The last time we had, a part of the guidelines in the CBA includes the breakdown of the program and all of those things for your consideration. I was able to get that for you last time, and you were able to, I don't have any of that for you. I just have the letter.
Anna?
So, what was her original date of absentia, or when was her sabbatical supposed to be? And then was she able, if it's in the future, then that's different, but if it was supposed to be this year, then was she able to inform the district that she was not actually going to take the sabbatical and that you did not have to replace her position in a timely way? That I don't know how all of this timeline fits together.
Sarah Bass?
But Dr.
Oh, Dr. Z?
No, go ahead. Let me pull up all this.
I guess this, to me, feels like a rescind and then apply again is a better, cleaner process for this. Especially if then we would have, if the CBA says we should have all of the information on the new program, then it feels to me like rescind and reapply is a cleaner, more appropriate way to go, because what we approved was a different program.
Thank you. Dr. Z, did you?
So we did, in reference to Anna's question, we did issue the letter within the time frame as per the CBA. Her original leave was supposed to commence or begin on August 24th, 2026 and conclude on June 30th, 2027. She wanted to, leading to a teacher specialist in reading, a reading specialist program, program, yeah, with language arts and literacy licensure. So we had already executed an agreement on behalf of Amherst Regional. It was not approved by Pelham. And so that's where we were. She came back when she found out immediately and informed the district, informed HR of her request to shift the time frame from January to December. So in actuality, I'm thinking, and I tried to meet with the individual before this so I can have a clear understanding of, like, if we rescind this agreement and we reissue it, that means that you are clear, you are working from August to December for the districts. And then from January to December, which crosses for us 2 fiscal years as well as everything else, you would be taking a leave at half time.
And then I'm just going to ask a follow-up. And then Tim is next, and then Anna and Bridget. What Sarah Beth said, I know that when we had this conversation in Pelham, and then we had it here at the region, we were looking at the different dates of the deadlines of when
Yes.
you have to apply. So I would be hesitant to approve a new date when we may have more applicants that come forward for that date. If the, like, I don't know what the deadline would be for starting a sabbatical in January. So that was gonna be my question. And if there is a deadline, then I think we should wait until that deadline and they reapply.
I think if we looked at it from that framework, the October deadline, she would have met her requirement for January to June, but that's why I said crossing fiscal years and school years. She would have to meet the next deadline for the next school year. So she's asking you to make a decision about the 26, 27, and the impact of 27, 28.
Okay. Tim?
Well, so I'm curious to understand, just in terms of our decision-making process, it makes sense what you're saying, that now there's essentially a need for a second application generated by the plan to attend this program in the FY28 fiscal year. That makes sense. And that application would have to come in the fall.
Yes.
Now, at that time, it would be under the new CBA, which, as I understand, has different language regarding sabbaticals, or is that not the case?
I don't think so.
So,
I don't think
okay.
it changed.
Okay, so I just wanted clarity on that. Thank you.
Anna?
So I would encourage her, so I would say we should just deny this sabbatical request and ask her to reapply. I would ask her to consider strongly her second option, which is September 27 to June 2028, to keep it within 1 fiscal year, and make just the hiring and filling of her position is going to be a lot easier if we can just do it in 1 school year and instead of over 2 school years.
Bridget?
I reread the letter, and it seems like there's one option, which if I were her grad school advisor, I would actually lean towards, which is you could take the same program we approved, receive the Teach grant, and get it from a school that's like a little bit more regarded, right? And then there's the second option, which was this Fitchburg State one. So if she were just gonna go to the UMass Lowell, that would be basically approving the same thing. But I think by the fact that she's not decided yet, I agree with Sarah Bess. Does that make sense?
So do we need a motion? A motion to rescind
Or deny.
or deny, but it's not really a request because it's a request to switch, so I don't know.
Can I make a suggestion? You've already approved her for August of 26 to June of 27. To give her latitude or choice, you can say that you're willing to approve half, which is within, you've already approved for the 1 year. You're willing to approve from January to June. And then she needs to reapply for the second school year in October, the second half of it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's a
Yes, but
different-
that's not what we want to do.
Okay, you don't, no, I was just giving a suggestion.
Thank you. I think it's a different program now, and is,
It's past the deadline, so yes, if that's the case, you can move to reject the adjustment,
Request.
the
Just
request,
deny
reject
the
the
request.
request.
Are we tabling it, or are we asking her to come back? Like, I don't want to use the word reject. I think that could, I don't want there to be misinterpretation, because the opportunity could still
because,
exist.
so I have a clarifying question,
Yes.
and then I'll ask Anna. So we already approved it,
Yeah.
so she could use it, and she hasn't asked us to take it away. So I think we should ask for more information.
She's asking you to, she clearly says, I would like to respectfully request consideration of postponing my professional improvement leave.
So I guess our response would be that we would not postpone her leave. I don't, Anna, and then I'm gonna do Sarah Bess and Sarah Marshall.
Yeah, I just had a similar question, William. It was like, right now, she currently has an approved leave. She's asking us to make an adjustment to that leave. If we deny the request to make an adjustment, she still has an approved leave. So how does that work? Can we somehow say, we can't rescind her leave? Or can we?
I don't think so.
I can get clarity and come back.
Yeah,
But
I don't think we
I don't
can.
want to deny this adjustment request if that means she has to take the leave as approved. And then if she can't take, I don't really know how these leave approvals work when your planned leave is no longer available to you. Then does that mean that you just don't get to take your leave because I don't know how this works.
So you approved a plan.
Yeah.
Remember that a part of the CBA section includes a plan. You reviewed that plan, you approved the plan, and thus we're approving the leave. The plan has changed, and the time frame has changed. And so now she's asking for a readjustment. The issue that comes in here, she obviously could not find a program within the same time frame as the approved leave. The time, like I was saying, that she could take the leave, even if she opted to take the leave at half the year, that is still your vote. So her request here is for a full year of leave, but it also crosses fiscal years. And the CBA says they can take a full year at half pay or half a year at full pay. Those are the options to them, and those are the options that the school committee can have. This is a new step. So now this step is in your hands as the school committee to determine if you're willing to just move forward and allow her to adjust the leave, that agreement that we already have executed, or to deny her request for postponing of her leave. That it shifts within, like, she's trying to shift the year in time, but for you as a school committee, that is 2 fiscal years that you also need to take into consideration.
Do you have a follow-up, Anna?
Yeah, so what I would like to do, and I don't know how to do this, is ask her to resubmit for September 27 to June 28, which is another option could be, and basically withdraw her request for leave for this coming year and reapply with the understanding that it is likely to be approved for the next year, with clarification about how the program's actually, once she gets confirmation that the program is actually going to happen and is going to remain largely the same as before, or still meet her needs as, to give her the licensure that she wants or would be beneficial. I think what I don't want to do is deny this request, have her feel like her only option now is to go to Fitchburg and do it in a semester, because she has, or, I mean, her only option is to do it in Fitchburg. I think she can still apply to Fitchburg and be accepted and start in the fall. And I don't want to force her into that option by not extending her, her sabbatical, but I would prefer that she rescind her sabbatical and reapply in another year.
Sarah Bess?
So I am not yet making a motion, but I think the motion could be something like reject the adjustment to the professional leave, because there's nothing, I pulled up the CBA and there's nothing in here that says adjustments have to be approved. And I still think that without the information, like one of the qualifications that have to be met in order for a leave to be approved is you have to show the program that you're submitting to, and that's not part of this updated application. So I actually don't think we can approve the amended request as presented.
Thank you. Sarah Marshall?
Yeah, I don't think there's any need for us to rescind the plan we approved, because basically the plan doesn't exist anymore in the dates that she requested. I also don't want to tell her what to apply for in the future. I think we should deny the request to alter the plan and invite her to reapply. And without getting more, it'll be up to her for what program suits her needs. Okay, and just leave it at that.
Bridget?
I think I'm okay. I just feel like just if we're gonna make a motion, like to just use a different word than reject, like that's the one piece. And then maybe the second piece is like, we'll table or postpone our determination. Because I'm just worried a little how all the timelines are gonna add up again. When will she definitely know if her program is running, and will it align with our new timeline? So could it be like, basically, not stuck to the timeline again, if that makes sense?
So I have Laura Jane, and then Dr. Z, and then Deb, and then I would like for us to move on. Laura Jane?
I also agree with Bridget. I think we have to be, I want the language to be positive, like, we're so excited that you are continuing your professional education. I don't know how to write a motion like this, but unfortunately, right now, because we don't have a clear plan we don't know what's gonna happen in the future, we invite you to reapply in a timely way when you know exactly what you're doing, and then we decide based on what she asks for. I don't like I could do this or that thing, because I don't want to make a decision for her, and I don't want to say like, we don't want you to do professional education. So that it's like framing it in a particular lens and positive way.
Okay. Dr. Z?
We have one more regional meeting. I will try to find a time to speak with the individual and give her the feedback. If she opts to adjust within the time frame, then I will bring that back to the regional school committee. If not, I actually think that at this point there's nothing in I reviewed the CBA. There's nothing in the CBA that precludes the school committee from saying we're not moving forward to approve your adjustment at this time. The other thing is everyone is correct. You are not supposed to make a determining decision as to how to approve the leave so that she can make her decision. Her decision actually should have been made prior to coming to the regional school committee. You are to review her plan and then approve. And so I know everyone's not in line with reject. So I would say that, or deny, but I think that at this time we can see I would suggest you say that we're not moving forward with this and allow the individual to review and come back.
Okay. Deb, you had your hand up. Are you okay?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest some language.
Okay. Sarah Bass?
I move to disapprove the adjustment. That is the language that's in the CBA. It says the school committee may the professional leave may be approved or disapproved. So it's already in there. Move to disapprove the adjustment to the professional leave. And I will also say that the only date that's listed in the CBA is November 1st. So there's plenty of time between now and then.
I second. Any discussion? Laura Jane, how do you vote? Oh, we can just do hands up. We don't have to. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So all those in favor? Okay, so it's unanimous. It passes. Thank you, everyone. The next thing is review student handbooks.
So I did attach a memorandum. I wanted to say that the student handbooks are usually, since I've come in, usually worked on at the end of the school year. Then we send it to legal. Legal reviews it to make sure that anything that we've updated is compliant, and then we issue them out. I've had discussions recently with the chairs of all of the committees. So this year, I've submitted them for review of the school committees. They do need to update. There is some work. There's employee names that need to change. There's some policy information that needs to come in and be updated as well. And we're going to work next year to try and get the handbooks to the school committees a lot earlier. I do welcome feedback and suggestions so that when we sit to finalize them, we will be able to have them updated.
Thank you, Dr. Z. Sarah Marshall?
I looked at our policy, refreshed my memory about what our policies have to say about the handbooks. And with regard to the high school book, I think it says it's to be developed in conjunction with the site council. So has that happened? Is there a site council? And have they?
I will let you to know that every school, including Summit, has a site council because I had to submit and close
Right.
that PRS with DESI. So I know for sure there is one, yes.
And do you think they've been involved in?
That I cannot,
Okay.
I know they meet. I
Okay.
know not only do they meet, I know that their teaching and learning team meets. But I would have to clarify and get that level of making sure that every school's site council is involved in that. I can definitely go back to that.
Thank you. Laura Jane?
I guess I don't understand how, and this is just my own inexperience with this particular process, like how we're supposed to know what kind of feedback we're supposed to give.
Sarah Bass?
My understanding is that the school committee looks at the handbooks to make sure that they're in line with the policies, not the everyday workings of the school, and those nitty-gritty details are up to the superintendent and the school administration, but school committee looks at them to make sure that it is aligned to the policies that they've developed.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Tim?
In the high school handbook, what do the gold stars indicate next to the Amherst Regional High School Student Bill of Rights?
I will get clarity for you.
And then I have a few comments. So bear with me for a second.
Can I ask the chair that after all the comments and questions come forth that I get a list through you if there anyone else?
Perfect. So I was going to say on the middle school handbook, there are strong protections and references to reporting bullying and harassment. Would you consider adding a brief section following the ACAA that clearly identifies what students who students should contact if they experience misgendering, dead naming, and identity-based harassment, bullying, or retaliation? It's in the bullying section, but it's not in the section following ACAA, so I would just say, could you update for that?
Yes, so we recently received back the procedures that the district developed around ACAA from legal. And so this year we have like a week where we're going reviewing policies and developing procedures and then making those. So yes, once those are done and we got those back, those will be inputted in the handbooks as well.
And then in the student bills of rights, would you consider adding language affirming that students may report concerns without fear of retaliation consistent with our other policies?
Yes.
Okay. And then in the high school handbook, is that the same thing? Let me see. Yeah, it would be the same thing. Just to clear reporting pathways around the student bills of rights and the ACAA. So the same thing, just putting it in that section. Yep. And then I think you said you were going to update contacts. So I think in the high school, there's not a contact for Title IX. So I'm assuming that'll get updated when you update.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any comments or suggestions? Thank you. Oh, Andrew, sorry.
Yeah, just in the Bill of Rights for both high school and middle school, it seemed like there's a great opportunity to lean into student collaboration, like, so student, staff, faculty, co-leading efforts together, exploring things. I think a lot of the language is aspirational, and then it sort of stops there, but, I don't know, and especially in terms of high school, is there a chance that there could be, students appointed to certain committees to look into, like, developing their Bill of Rights with staff?
Okay.
Laura Jane, did you have your hand up? No, oh, okay, sorry.
And I was just smiling at that.
Okay.
I like that idea.
So, thank you very much,
Great to have
Dr.
our
Z,
student
for bringing
reps
this
in
forward.
school.
The next thing is the school committee goals and objectives for school year 26-27. And I am not prepared for this.
So
Sarah Bess.
there's nothing written on there because I didn't want to make assumptions about what the things people were going to want to do. However, I have collected a list of things that have come up over the year, which very recently, and Dr. Z just talked about, is we need to look at our regional agreement, public engagement and communication, policy alignment, budget discussions and guidelines, and well-defined subcommittees. So I don't know where we want to go with that. I'm not in charge. But that is the list of things I have collected as we've talked about either the superintendent's goals or in other meetings we have looked at. Our superintendent has created a lovely framework that talks about the goals and the action items when she creates her own superintendent goals for the year. I don't know if we want to follow that or how we want to move forward with it, but those are the things I have collected.
Deb?
We have goal creep. We have 20 different similar sounding items scattered throughout the various documents. We have them in policy. We have them in our budget book. I think our first step is to do what Sarah Bess has started and just pull them all together and synthesize them down to a reasonable number. So I don't think we can add right now until we've seen what has been identified previously, what we've inherited, and seen whether or not we want to refine, combine, abandon, and anything.
Sarah Marshall?
Sure, yes, but some things I think are maybe more urgent than others, and to me, even if we establish a subcommittee to work on the regional agreement with other town reps, I think the full committee should have a pretty thorough understanding of what our regional agreement is. I don't know if Desi should come speak to us about all the ways in which it's out of date or wrong, but I don't think we should just turf it to a couple people. I think, I mean, it's foundational. I think we should all understand it, and probably we need someone to come and tell us about it.
Go ahead. Laura Jane.
I had like 3 things to add to that list. So I don't know whether that's appropriate to do at
You
this
can add,
moment.
that's fine, yeah.
Okay, maybe 2 things, I guess. I wanted to remind us about anti-racist training, and also that it is the role of the school committee to evaluate curriculum or to make final decisions about curriculum, and that we need I feel like that hasn't come up for a long time, and it would be great to have a robust discussion with the curriculum leaders at the schools about that.
So that sounds like a future agenda item. This is supposed to be what our goals are, I think, for ourselves.
Is that not a
So-
goal for ourselves? It's not a goal for ourselves?
Our-
Like, I don't know what a goal for ourselves looks like then.
So we have never had okay, I'm gonna speak for a minute. We have never had a goal for ourselves. We kind of did in Pelham, and we have started that process this year. It's been a learning curve. We've never at the region had goals for ourselves. So what I would propose is that just like the superintendent has goals for herself, or we have goals, I have something on my shirt, anyway. As we have goals for the superintendent, we should have goals for ourselves. And then I would like to set those goals before summer. So then we were working on those goals all through next year. I think it's unrealistic to have 5 or 6 goals. I really think we should narrow it down to 3 goals. I liked what Sarah Beth said. I liked what you added. So I think we should table this conversation. I would ask people to email me what their goal would be, or what their suggestion of their goal would be. And then at the next time, I will post the goals that we have, the ones from tonight and other ones that other people email me, and we will post them. We can have a discussion, and I think we have one more meeting, regional meeting. It would be great if at that meeting, we can decide like 3 goals for ourselves. But this is not about the district necessarily, it's about ourselves. Anna?
Could Sarah Best just repeat what she said?
Sure. So these are things I've collected. The regional agreement, which is, I think, a pretty heavy hitter. Public engagement and communication. Policy alignment. Budget discussions and budget guidelines. And well-defined subcommittees.
And I would add, from the protocol subcommittee, maybe protocols might be a goal for us to have, as for all of us to have. Bridget?
I hear 2 different things in maybe goals and objectives. Captures them, but not quite. I hear outcomes, and then I hear processes. And so I'm hearing, like, we may want to have some process guidelines that we all, like, sort of come together on, but in terms of goals, like, the same way the superintendent is working towards 3 goals for the year, or 6 goals for the year, or, you know, some Herculean number of goals for the year, like, we should also be accountable to that, and I hope during this SEAC presentation, you might consider, like, taking up some of the goals we're thinking about there, but I think like there's goals where we're saying like, let's work towards outcomes. So when you're working on policy, or I'm working on budget, or someone else is working on the other thing, we're all in alignment towards those goals.
Go ahead, Laura Jane.
So I did mean for the anti-racist training to be for us.
Correct, yes.
Okay, I just
I
wanted to.
heard that.
Okay.
Does anyone else? Yes, Dr. Z.
I think piggybacking off of what Bridget said, I think that the school committee is prime for you to outline your goals. So that in essence, as a superintendent, a part of the work is to enact and help support. Like you're working on but we can't work on them separate and apart. And really, it should start, like, what's the goals of the committee, then the superintendent, then it gets down into the district and administration. And I agree with Bridget's thought process of outcomes. What is it that you want to see, right? So if we're doing the because public engagement can be done in various aspects of a goal. Or if it is to rebuild, the goal of the school committee may be to rebuild public trust and reaffirm your commitments to stronger educational platforms. Under that goal, you are learning about curricular choices on the direction of the district. You are engaging the public in that realm. Same thing with your budget conversation or regional agreements. Like, you want to develop or a process or outline clearly who you accept. Like, really, when I would suggest that when you are suggesting to the chair what you think the goal should be, you really need to talk about how we are aligning your processes of what it is that you want and all of the things that would fit under it. Because there are subcommittees who are doing work, there are committee members who have passions, and we just want to bring them all together in a unified front.
And I think an unspoken goal that Sarah Bess has been working on for the whole year is to organize a yearly, like, overreaching calendar, right? We didn't really have that as a goal, but I feel like that was something she took on personally. But I feel like that goal, I feel like she succeeded in that goal. But I really would like to have, as we evaluate our superintendent, I think we should evaluate ourselves. And that is something we have not been doing, and so I want to move us towards that direction. Tim, and then Anna.
So it's challenging on a committee of democratically elected people to think of mechanisms for accountability. I mean, the ultimate accountability is our voters. It's really the only accountability we have. So this can converge on some kind of communication to voters at the end of the year. Aside from that, I'm not sure what accountability we can actually talk about.
Dr. Z?
You're accountable to the children of this district. Your voters put you here, but when you come here, you're accountable to the students and the children who, under your leadership, you form. The school committee has broad educational goals, budget, hire, fire superintendent. Those broad educational goals sets the direction for the district. The superintendent follows the lead and works to make sure the system functions for the children. If the top, which is the school committee, isn't clear on where you're working towards as a committee and what the outcomes are you want to see as a committee, the key stakeholders who will suffer are the children. I just want to add to what you're saying about accountability.
That's an important statement, but that's not the same as accountability. That's impact, but impact doesn't automatically translate to accountability. Accountability requires a mechanism, a rule, with consequences if people fall short of that accountability. And I don't know of any mechanism that governs committee members other than voters.
So I'm going to speak for a second, and then I have Anna, and then I have Deb, and then I have Bridget, and then I have Sarah Marshall. I have not reflected on this in quite some time, but when I have reflected on the goals, we're supposed to self-evaluate ourselves at the end of the year. So I don't know if there's really an accountability piece to it other than we just hold ourselves accountable. But we are supposed to set goals, and we are supposed to self-evaluate ourselves at the end of the year. It is set up through either MASC or DESI. I will go back and reflect, and when we have this meeting in a couple of weeks, I will have more information.
Policy BAA.
Policy BAA?
School committee self-evaluations.
So it's policy BAA. Anna?
So, I think there's two ways of looking at this, and I think we might be looking at it in slightly the wrong way. The school committee is supposed to set goals, not for themselves, but for the region. We're supposed to set goals for us to accomplish within the region, and for us, our job is to make the region function and make it improve and make it run well and serve the students and the families. So I think that our goals should be focused on district-wide goals and not school committee functioning and not school committee improvements among ourselves. I think that we should improve our functioning and our working amongst ourselves, but I think that the self-evaluation of the school committee that Desi wants is not for us to determine how we can work better together, but how we can work more effectively to the benefit of the school district. And so I think the goals of updating the regional agreement complies with that sort of like mandate. I think things like policy alignment fits within that mandate, but things like protocols, that's something we should do, but maybe not as a goal for ourselves. Creating an annual calendar helps us make sure that we can manage the tasks that we have on hand to ensure that we are covering all the things at the right time. So creating or updating the annual calendar, I think it's something that we should do. I'm not sure it should be a goal because I don't know that it's one of the top 3 most important things that we should be doing. So I just wanted to see if we can move the focus off accountability for our own performance within the committee and look more at our performance in improving the district. Does that make sense? Yeah. Maybe somebody disagrees. But.
Deb?
Yeah, so there's 3 parts to governance, right? Our governance of the district, our governance of ourselves, and our governance as it relates to Dr. Z, which is, of course, the governance of the district. So one of the things, like protocols and structures, is how we govern ourselves, how we structure ourselves so that we can be effective. And I think a lot of the goals that we tend to reach for are goals that we have for our district. And so I think it's just, like, again, following what Anna said, it's important to distinguish the two. But regardless, we can govern ourselves however it makes sense. But if we just make a bunch of aspirational goals and we don't back that up with budgeting, they remain aspirational, which is why we have 30 of them. So we need to make them smart. We need to make sure our budget follows in line. You know, Dr. Z brings to our conversation strategic budgeting. And if we don't start with that, then we get just a lot of words.
So I have Bridget and then Sarah Marshall. Bridget?
Well, a lot of what I wanted to say was said. I plus one, William, I think the idea of the goals is that we're accountable to ourselves. And then as things are popping off, like over here, then we're like, okay, yes, we've got this agenda like this, but actually, are we focused on these 3 things? And those things take priority, right? So that's the first piece. The second piece for me is how do we get to this? Like, I'm next to Anna who's writing them all down, and it's like 12 now. And, you know, the things that I would say aren't even on her list yet. So, you know, like if we were going to say, let's work for fiscal sustainability this year, does that or does that not include the strategic agreement? A lot of people would say no, other people would say yes. So it's like already, is that one of our priorities or not? Does it fit? And so forth. And then we can align with those outcomes we want to see. But I feel like to do this well, we might need a retreat versus just another agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Marshall?
Yeah, I give up. I won't touch it. So I think, what I think of as appropriate goals is education, is educating ourselves to better understand our system and what is needed. So things like, as I said, having a shared understanding of the regional agreement, anti-racism training for us, maybe a deep dive into discipline data. Those are discrete, we know when we've done them. And hopefully, first of all, we have a shared understanding, and then second of all, that would inform our conversations going forward. So those are three examples of discrete content areas that we could learn more about.
Any other comments or discussion? So it sounds like you can email me goals, and we can see how that turns out. It sounds like maybe we could have a conversation at the next meeting. I'll agenda plan. I'll coordinate with my vice chair, and that may, if it looks like it needs to be a bigger conversation, then we can roll that into something over the summer, is how I would end that. We have the SEAC annual report. Next.
Yes, hi. Alyssa, do you want me to come over here and you sit with me? I've got my co-chair here with me tonight, and I'll go over. Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
Oops.
We can join. So sorry. No, there's bunnies on the floor. There's bunnies on the floor. Real bunnies.
Anybody want some bunnies from the box?
Do you want us to pull this up, Bridget? The attachment?
Here's what I would think is useful is, I don't want to spend a ton of time going over the report, so open the report yourself. I'll talk on some key points that sort of follow along with that. And then, you know, if you have it there, then if things come up, you can ask us questions. Does that make sense?
It is so cold right here because of that.
I love that.
Okay.
I'm really, it's hot over there.
Okay, maybe I'll go sit there.
I know, right? So SEAC is our School Equity Advisory Committee. It's a community group with parents, caregivers, and school committee has representation onto it. All right, our mission really is to elevate community voice on equity issues, to work towards equity, to press for district and school committee accountability in reaching inclusive gains, right? I think our district has a deep commitment to equity and progress overall, but yet our equity outcomes largely remain unchanged. When we reported here last year, we used 2023 data. Right now, what DESE has available is the 2025 data. When we go back and compare, we are seeing that there's gains for our student body overall, significant gains for our equity gaps. Not so much as a dramatic understatement, actually. We're just not seeing the gains. The gaps are real in all our areas. So SEAC has 3 areas: academic disparities, culture and climate, and then discipline disparities. Those are the 3 things that we focus on as a committee. Generally, this past year, we developed a new structure that you all voted on a year ago that was terrific. In some ways, we have a monthly structure. We have community sessions, so we started off with like a welcome celebration with drumming and food and at Groff Park. We tabled at the welcome at the beginning of the year. We'll keep that structure. And then we have meetings together with the administration in the ways that they align with our 3 core areas, right? So that structure is good. I think we've gotten some stronger communication, especially with that that next tier of administration, and built the foundation for engagement. But I don't think we've gotten to a place where we're building things together yet, or adding pressure behind a shared set of goals or initiatives. And so what's not working, like I said, the academic gap reduction, we haven't seen progress on that. We still have discipline disparity gaps that are 2 times as much for our subgroups. Dr. Z presented at the State of the District Summit, and it was depressing for us because a year ago we presented here and said, hey, the data's like this. Now she's got a different data set. It's internal. There's a lot more numbers there than what's reported to DESE, which are the most serious types of discipline disparities. Those numbers of the most serious types have consistently been low for our district. They're lower than I've seen in most other districts. But but they show still significant equity, like over-representation of the equity groups. Students with disabilities, students of color, Latino, Black, BIPOC students are really overrepresented in those numbers. And Dr. Z's numbers showed that too, I think like 2 times as much for those key groups. So the gaps haven't narrowed, and some areas have worsened. When we met a year ago for our superintendent's meeting where we presented the 3 SEAC goals, which are there in the document, for academic discipline and then some culture and climate things. One of the things we talked deeply about was the math pathway, 7, 8 to high school. And that area has gotten worse, the gaps are growing. So where overall our district-wide data shows real progress. ELA, we've got like a 10-point growth between 23 and 25. Science, 13 points our district's gone up, right? And math as well, up 8 points. And so more of our students are succeeding overall. But the problem is that for Black students, we've got a 38-point gap in terms of equity. For Latino students, 40 points, and we just aren't seeing change in the income, disability, or racial equity gaps. They're really persisting. Math was, like I said, an overall area of concern, and the gaps are widening for Black and Latino students, low-income students, and students with disabilities, especially at that 8 to 9 transition, and the passing rates for 9th grade. We don't have the demographic breakdowns for AP coursework, and so we can only say that there's likely continued marginalization in all of the types of information we have.
You're correct.
In a dodal, you know, like, oh, you know, we go to presentation A or B, or these folks come to us, or no students who are in class X, and we can see big divides. So I think the other aspect of CX work that is important is we talk to a lot of families. Families come to us when something's wrong, right? So we hear families feeling overwhelmed, they feel unheard, and they don't see clear pathways for access. And sometimes they don't know what those are, and we can like help them navigate them and be like, oh, have you talked to person X or person Y? Sometimes when they go and do that, they still feel dissatisfied. And then we say, okay, well, what about this person at central office? But it's not clear, you know, these are people who found their way to us, the small little subcommittee, you know. And so the pathways aren't clear for folks, especially folks where English might be their first language, where they don't have a long history of interacting with educational types of systems, etc. So I think some sort of clear system for parents for resolving concerns, something that's, you know, a big button, like, or that gets them to the point person, maybe any student handbook, or, you know, I don't know if those looks like they go out electronically, like, how do we communicate that out? And the other suggestion that came up with the committee discussions was to get an ombudsman. The district used to have an ombudsman for families, Barry Brooks, the legendary Barry Brooks, and somebody with that kind of role is missed. Oh, so we have overall progress, but it's not shared progress, right? We don't have quite the transparency and accountability needed. Dr. Z brought forward the discipline data, and if we can use that as a baseline and build year over year, then we'll be able to measure and see what's going on. But we've never seen that data publicly before. The same with advanced placement. We don't have that. How do the type of climate data we're getting, the bullying data, what's the demographic components of that? What does it look like, right? So I think that we've made some steps towards structuring things for a move towards dialogue, but we don't have any sort of systems or steps to move towards measurable action. And it's, I'm gonna say, my committee, looking at the numbers and comparing last year's numbers to this year's numbers, or, you know, it's really 2 years of numbers because of the way we did the report. So over those 2 years, to not see any progress, it was depressing. We're like, should we quit, right? We don't know what to do. You're the school committee. I know I should be sitting there. But I really want to bring this to you for a discussion. Can we set some targeted equity benchmarks? We're supposed to have equity in a superintendent's goal. Is it clear and measurable? Have we done that as we look at the superintendent's goal for next year, right? And so I want to look at what we said, like, last year when we voted our goal down at the end of the report, and then open it up for some discussion. But I also want to give Alyssa a chance to say things, right? So we passed a motion to reaffirm our support for SEAC. That's an open question, right? To commit to include performance measures different district-wide related to equity in the annual superintendent's evaluation, and then to move to that parent-led format in our proposed calendar and a communications plan. So I wanted to talk about the different aspects. Specifically, I think we need to look at the superintendent's evaluation goals, and are those very clear and measurable. We like the parent-led format, but we haven't been super successful in it yet. We have created a Google form, and we'd like to get that sent out to all the schools, because we've expanded to the elementary school now. If we could get a core group to apply via the Google form, and then the chair appoints the committee, so that we could really have a committee that that's more representative of the folks. Like, we're people who've done a lot of work on equity over our careers and that type of thing, but we're not necessarily super representative of the community either. And so that's an area we want to grow in. And I think the question is, like, what can we do as a committee to increase the equity outcomes? Because this is, I mean, from my standpoint, and I'm a pretty calm and relaxed person, this is unacceptable. We're leaving a lot of children behind. And it's really sad, honestly. And this is not necessary. I know from my own personal work in my career that you can put the supports in place, and you can move kids forward who you maybe didn't think could move forward at the start, who maybe the system had given up on in some ways. And our systems have given up on these kids to some extent, even though I believe in you all. I think the intentionality is there. What could you add?
Yeah, I would want to hear more about a discussion or
Yeah.
questions, and
Perfect.
that would be more of my interest.
Thank you so much for sharing. Dr. Z?
I'm waiting for my end of year conversation this year, because we had a real good and in-depth conversation last year. And I know that we built the foundation for things, and things could have been a lot more solid in our execution. And that happens in the first year of any execution of something. We are not closing the gap, especially for our students, our students of high needs, our students of color, like our L students, our students, multilingual students have flatlined. So it's one thing to look at our data in comparison to the state, but what we did at the state of the districts was compare us to ourselves and talk about what we're doing. It's really great questions for the school committee. And the hard part comes is that we have to stand firm, because we have long-standing instructional practices, and we have very skilled teachers, but our students have changed. And the students who are now in front of us have also lived a pandemic and walked through where their educational landscape have shifted for them repeatedly. And so teachers are facing that pitfall already as well. And so the conversation that's going to come from it is a deeper one, where I as a superintendent, are you as a subcommittee, are you as a school committee, going to stand firm in what you believe equity to be, define that, what does that look like for you, and then when the changes come about or have to come forward, what is that level of accountability in terms of ourselves, in terms of teaching, in terms of learning? And there's a lot that we need to do. So I'm here for it, but I also would say, like, let's have a clear, open, honest conversation around what shifts need to happen. And we are working on transparency of the data. So the connections are, like, we had our high school data chat this year. A lot of students of color are not taking AP classes. That number is not a large number. We don't have it ready and available like we have MCAS and everything else, but they did present that to us. So those are things that I think we talked about in the State of the Districts as anecdotal and conversations, and we're working on building more of our data transparency. I had a very rich conversation with a school committee member in terms of looking at alternate ways for suspension, and what those could and should not look like. And I think that there's a lot of things that we need to do, but we would have to stand firm in that once we commit to something, it's going to look different, and there's going to be a level of pushback, and that's where we start to waver.
Tim?
Thank you for this very clear report. It was very helpful to me to see it, and it was also helpful that it reinforced what we all saw and learned at the summit. Okay. I mean, there are a few things that caught my eye. I guess some of them are just minor things. One, I'll ask the minor stuff first. I'm not clear. There's a bullet point in the history section about significant data gains 2018 to 2019 following the restorative program and the teacher-driven curriculum changes for inclusion. Those gains were lost in the pandemic. What do you mean by significant data gains?
We saw the equity gaps. We saw the equity gaps shrinking over time in that 2017 to 2019 period, and that was a time where you would come to SEAC on a night and you'd have the assistant superintendent and other people in the room. How many people, Alyssa? Like, you would have groups of people working hard together. You had teacher-led curriculum groups who were working specifically on anti-racist training. So they were looking at all the books in their classroom. How do we redo this? Doing trainings on, like, okay, what's our approach? Are we overrepresenting in discipline? Are we looking at our classroom data? And then as they implemented PBIS and the other things, they were looking at that data school-wide and even grade-wide, like, to try and figure out, okay, do we have issues with, honestly, sometimes teacher X, or what teacher's doing really well with our students of color, and how is that? Because in our district overall, we've got a much bigger percentage of students of color than we do teachers of color. And so you've got to look out, and that's just one equity dimension, right? You've got to look out on all these equity dimensions for people being able to be inclusive. We also heard from parents who wanted to have teachers have neurodiversity affirming training, but we also, we heard from many Black and brown parents that the teachers aren't getting their kids. And I think that we know a lot of our teachers are trying, and we have expert teachers in the system who could be leaders for that even, but we have to figure out how to structure it.
Could I continue?
Sure.
So I see an opportunity here for, support from SEAC for anti-racism training, not just for staff, but for school committee members as well. And I think your attention, I think, is already on this, but I think that to address equity gaps for children, we need to address the equity gaps for the adults. And we're hearing reports at public comment about harassment or, racist harassment of some kind. I don't know the details, and we're only hearing about it at public comment. And there was also, twice now, from Mika McGee and Georgia Malcolm, they have presented, a number of requests. Last year there was a document titled, I don't remember, something or class action, right? And then there were 10 requests made in that document. So that seems relevant to SEAC, and it seems to be an indicator of a need to address problems of race that are happening among staff, to staff, or between staff in some way. I think that if students belong to, if there are African American students and they're hearing us talk about how to address equity gaps that they're enduring, but we're not also doing anything to help the adults that are teaching them or cleaning their school or working as administrators or whatever the case may be, I think that they'll see that discrepancy. And it will make it harder for them to accept the work we're doing in good faith.
So next I have Deb and then Sarah Marshall.
This is great work. We have work to do. Are we really committed to doing it? Because what was the conversation that we had at this table? We talked about our goals, and we talked about who we are answerable to. Dr. Z said the children. There was this perception that maybe we're answerable to our constituents, but who are the people that come to this room to talk to us, and how do we respond to them? And that's an important part of our job, listening to our community. But this committee voted to support a Caminantes program based on a very well-designed and well-meaning and well-thought-out advocacy from Caminantes parents. And it wasn't a program that was developed from an equity point of view. It was, and as much as, and proud as I am of that program, that was developed from an equity point of view. That originated with the interest in eliminating the achievement gap for people who entered kindergarten not speaking English. And it's supposed to eliminate the achievement gap when those students reach 7th grade. Well, next year, our inaugural Caminantes program will be in 7th grade. Where are we as a district in monitoring that program for its equity focus? We're very good at listening, but we're also very good at responding to specialized interest groups. And those are not the people who need our time and attention and our resources. So are we really going to say it, or are we really going to do it? Because it's a hard job. All of these jobs are hard jobs, and we're always dealing with issues that arise. And I think it's aspirational, but our aspirations do not help children achieve. And so I really think this is tied into our goals, as Bridget says, but it's tied into our ability to sit in the seat and be uncomfortable and make uncomfortable decisions based on our values and not of all the people we represent.
Thank you, Deb. Sarah Marshall?
I'm not sure my thoughts on this are coherent, but first, I know I can say thank you to the whole group for the work you've been doing. I'm sure it seems Sisyphean and hopeless at times. I would say, I expect you'll all agree, that the causes of academic and disciplinary disparities are complicated and are intertwined. It's easy to see the problems and we want to fix them. I don't think we know how to fix them. I don't think we know how to fix them. And I feel a little bit like it's approaching a water balloon, and like we'll squeeze it over here and work on this thing, but that kind of just changes the shape of the thing. It doesn't really get you anywhere. I mean, we have, I think where the school committee can push is to learn more, maybe this is goals, about how what other districts are doing to try to reduce disparities. Maybe it's to make sure that our budget priorities make funding whatever services the administration thinks would be most helpful, make sure that that's a real priority. But I am not going to have the knowledge to say, here's how to fix the problem. I think we need to turn to our experts, our educators, and say, what do you think is going on? Is it a matter of, I mean, we take the students as we get them. We can't send them back to elementary school, but is it a matter partly, would it help to review what grade students are placed in? I mean, I don't know. There are just so many aspects of schooling that come into play here. The curriculum, the teaching model, I mean, everything. It's all relevant, and I don't know where to start. And maybe the superintendent does, and it could advise us on what would be most helpful, and then we can decide whether we want to make that a priority.
I would just pop in here, Sarah, because I don't think this is all that complicated, and maybe that's just the perspective I have of like implementing strong evidence-based programs that work to close gaps. We do 6-week math summer boot camp that was designed for us by Stanford in math, and we could see people make like a 1.5-year jump.
Good, that's what I'm saying. I'd love to learn what.
So
yeah.
there's a lot of evidence in best practices. The question is how you implement it while still, like the ship is moving.
Right.
Like I had the advantage in my work, like every summer we'd be like, what are the best things? What's most important? What did we see great outcomes of? And you could redesign it every time. But with the school system, it's harder. You can't just redesign, you've got to keep things moving.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of evidence for, for early college, especially for boys. And boys with like medium 2.5 GPAs, like the early college data is really clear on that. Here we live in a town with 2 colleges, and the kids in Springfield are coming to college with a 1.5 or 2 years of college credit, which is tremendous if you're from a low-income family. But in Amherst, someone's lucky if they get out with 3 credits, and it's usually because their parents fought to make it happen.
Well, then one way we can work towards making our aspirations real is to have those presentations to us or something so we can learn more. I assume Dr. Z knows, but maybe not what, because there's so much to know, so many different programs. What are some of those best practices? And if some seem like they might be particularly successful or effective here, that we commit to putting the money into making that happen. That's what part of what we can do.
Thank you. I have Laura Jane and Tim. I was going to say something myself too. Go ahead.
I can do it after.
Oh, you can respond. You're responding to some, you're
Yeah,
presenting to us.
so a multi-prong approach is often the answer, and it's not just one. It's like enough support, it's student have voice, it's students seeing brown and black faces that represent their community, so they have models that they can aspire to. It's enough support to do your homework. It's enough support so families know there is an AP program, and to push, that the teacher pushes the kids, and that the families push the kids, and that the school pushes the kids to do their best. And how do they need to do that? So it's like a lot of different ways to support, and each way is not that complicated, but it needs to be tracked, and it needs to be supported, and from the top down, and that's how it has to happen. And and it will succeed. And that's why when we had the RJ program where there was a staff for 1 or 2 years, now this is, you could challenge me, but that my conclusion is that's partially why the gap closed was from that program. So, I mean, you could challenge that, but you can also, I really feel that kind of support where students have voice, students are encouraged to work things out together, students are encouraged to listen to each other, to acknowledge differences, not to invisibilize them, but okay. And, you know, how do we move forward? So in real trained ways, there's techniques, there's methods, it has succeeded. But that maybe is a presentation.
Yeah,
Maybe there's
yeah.
a need for a presentation.
So I have Laura Jane, Tim, and I'm putting myself in there, and Dr. Z, did you want to say something? Okay. Do you want to go now, or do you want to wait?
I wanted to.
Okay, so I was just gonna say that we are a sea of non-colored people sitting here.
Right. Excuse me.
We, the school committee,
Starting there.
right? You know, as Tim said, we have to look at ourselves, right? We have to look at everything, and
How do you feel about
it's,
that?
I feel like how do we expect to have more involvement if they don't see a recognizable face to come to, right? So as a queer man, I know that if I am living out loud myself, other people will feel more comfortable to approach me. There's not much representation here, and I know we can't change that, but I think we should be reflective of that. I also, I'm trying to figure out if I can say this or not, so Dr. Z, stop me if I can, please, okay?
I'm ready.
I was disheartened as I sat in interviews to hear staff's resistance to change. And I think we have really great teachers, and I'm not saying we don't have great teachers, and I don't want to be quoted saying that we have bad teachers. We do not. We had a lot of applicants for the principal search
Slow down.
that,
Keep going.
that talked in the public forum
Okay.
about turnaround. I also felt like we had staff that were resistance to that. I'm not saying we need to turn around, but our data shows us we're not doing so great for the underserved children. I think that I hope that teachers and staff can listen and say, you know what, we are doing a great job. We are moving, you know, I think you said it was 10 points or 13 points in science. We're doing that, but we're not doing it for all the kids. And so do we need to have curriculum changes? Possibly. Do we need to bring in, I hate to say it, bring in canned curriculum that has, you know, where there's been more research to show that it changes kids? Like, I think we need to be a community that's open to other ideas, because what we're currently doing is not working. We need to be open to what Dr. Z can bring to the table. We need to be open to what major curriculum developers can bring to the table. We need to be open to what teachers' ideas are that are here in the building that has data to then show that they can have growth. I think we need to be open to that. So I hope that we as a school committee can be open to it. I really hope that staff and teachers can be open to it, because for us to move all children and close that gap, we're gonna have to change. And that means the teachers are gonna have to change. It means we're gonna have to change. It means administrators are gonna have to change. So that's all I'm gonna say. Sarah Marshall.
I got totally skipped.
Oh, no,
They spoke.
no, I'm sorry, Sarah Marshall already spoke, I didn't. It's Laura Jane, sorry, and then Tim. I didn't cross off Sarah Marshall, so that's why I went there. Not skipping you, Laura Jane. Laura Jane, your turn. And then it's Tim,
Dr. Z.
and then Deb, and Dr. Z.
I can't speak to the ethnic or racial composition of the school committee, because the people who run for school committee inherently have privilege and time, right? So there's, you know, Amherst likes to imagine itself this like post-racial fantasy world. I mean, I just have too many thoughts in my head. Like, I'm trying to figure out exactly like which thing is the most effective thing to say. If we're going to adequately serve all of our students and close the gaps for students of color, for low-income students, for students whose families maybe from other places where they're not as familiar or comfortable with the educational system. I know I'm sitting here in the region, but it does have to start in elementary school also. Like the school to prison pipeline starts at the beginning, it doesn't start in the middle. And so I think among the things we're looking at are, like you mentioned, who are the teachers, which means that we have to look at hiring and how we do human resources overall for our educators. We have to look at class sizes. Class sizes need to be kept really small so that students who need special attention, not even special needs students, but just students who need more attention, have the ability to get it without causing, without acting out to get attention, right? There is definitely a major issue of discipline that we need to address. I mean, I'm naming things everyone already said. I don't know.
It's good.
It feels, I cannot agree with you, William, that canned curriculum is going to ever be a solution for any issue that has to do with education, because the reason teachers go to school to learn is so they can learn to teach, and our teachers are so committed. Like the curriculum that the kids go through, like just thinking about the English curriculum in the middle school, like I was just thinking about, like I would get recommendations from the teachers for books for myself to read because they had such an incredible wealth of like LGBTQ books and books that centered kids of color, and like writers from all different places. And like I was introduced by the English teacher to incredible things. That is not a canned curriculum. That is a thoughtful educator who is like really being deliberate. And when I went to, oh my God, I'm so sorry I'm babbling, but when I went to the high school night here and listened to Miss Coco talk about her, I don't remember what the name of the class is, but it's essentially what used to be called social studies, but it's like civics and understanding the world, right? Like she was like naming white supremacy. Like I was in the room and she was just like naming white supremacy and talking about capitalism. And like, I was like, if I had an education like that when I was in high school, I would have been so much more enjoyed, like, because it was like there were no lies, right? It was like telling the truth. So I think there are some really wonderful things that are happening in our curriculum right now. I do think that there is a real emphasis on listening to the people who talk, and the people who talk tend to be the people with more privilege, and people with more privilege think they deserve more. I don't think we should have, I think there's things like that we've tried to sort of get rid of, like tracking in the middle school, for example, like the algebra class sort of pulls like from, and that kind of creates a tracking mechanism, which also leads to this pipeline thing where the students are then, if everyone was just like at the same level, then they would just move forward and then get supported and treated at the same. Anyway, sorry. I mean, this is like keeps me up at night thinking about this all the time. So, as someone who joined SEAC very late, right, just joined it in January, I was very happy to hear when we met with the elementary schools administrators that they are doing restorative justice. They are thinking about restorative justice. They're doing circles. But that goes away when they get to middle school. And we don't know what the plan is for Amethyst Brook or the 6th grade academy as far as continuing those. I was disheartened by the lack of parental and family involvement, which sounds like that's been a real shift over time. And I know I'm talking way too much, so I'm really sorry. I just, I want to continue this conversation, and I want to keep thinking about where the best practices are. And it sounds like there are, and
It's being done.
it's being done, and we have to change the culture here on a fundamental level. And it sounds like it has happened effectively at certain times, and then of course COVID hits, and then everything else gets thrown out the window and things like that. So I would advocate for no canned curriculum and smaller class sizes.
Thank you. Deb? Tim, I keep skipping over people, sorry. Tim?
I agree that teacher autonomy is very important. And I don't think canned curriculum is the answer. I think that supporting teachers to teach creatively and to make connections with students is much more important. So any supports that we can build into our schools that support teachers doing that, I think that that is the evidence-based way of doing curriculum. But we also need staff to comply with district policy. That appears to be something that we struggle to achieve. And I don't understand that. So that is eating up a lot of our time as a committee. The more time we spend trying to talk through policy and implementation of policy and running into barriers to compliance with policy, the less time we will have for creative problem solving of these equity problems. So I'm in favor of teacher autonomy of curriculum, but we need staff to comply with district policy. Another support that has a great deal of evidence behind it in terms of student outcomes is money. Money is what delivers great education outcomes and closes equity gaps, and we don't have it. So we might start asking ourselves how to stop spending money on what students don't need and how to spend money on what students do need, because there's not a whole lot of flex in our town budgets. This brings us back to the regional agreement, of course. I'm not going to go into that deeply right now, but that should be an objective of the regional agreement. Fiscal sustainability, so that we can spend money on what students need and stop spending money on what students don't need, right? So, you know, the roof is a great example. The students need a roof, right? But we didn't have the money to buy a whole roof, but we were spending a lot of money maintaining it. After the summer at the middle school, hopefully, you know, we will have our debt burden. We will spend less money on maintaining it. The students will stop breathing in mold and whatnot, right? So that's a good example, but it also demonstrates that we don't have a lot of margin to work with in our current fiscal circumstances. I'm white guy, so I try to reach out to staff and listen when I can. I don't have a lot of opportunities for that. I'm also a volunteer. I have the privilege of being able to take the time to volunteer, so I have to be somewhat parsimonious with how I use my time. But figuring out who has a need to be heard and then putting myself into a position where I can hear them is one way that I can try to use my privilege for people who have less of it, rather than just using my privilege for myself. And then I wanted to touch upon the advanced Spanish vote because I think it is very equity informed, the vote that we made. We got a presentation that showed us, it starts, the first few slides are about equity gaps in academic growth experienced by Hispanic, Latino students. We described, you know, native language speakers, heritage language speakers. Now, while the attention to that was galvanized by the community members and parents in the audience, we also got a very informed presentation from Dr. Z, Tanya, and I'm sorry, I forgot her name. Celia, thank you. And that presentation is what drew my attention from, oh, this is just Caminante's, you know, the sequel, which was all I really knew about it up until that meeting, to actually this is a way to address the gaps experienced by these other cohorts of students. So that was an equity-informed discussion and vote.
But I'm gonna just jump in for a minute, because there's a lot of words and there's so much good intention in this room. And we all have the power we have as individuals, but we have power as a committee. And so what I really want to get to, and I hope we'll get to it in goals, and maybe even in goals we'll pass some motions that hold ourselves and the district accountable to meet certain outcomes Because if I sit here next year, and this is why I was so hesitant to sit on this committee again, and hear the same numbers, you know, I'm not gonna be so polite, y'all. We have to do something concrete, right? And some of the things, like that you're talking about, some of them will have sub-areas, like, let's say academic, like we could say, yes, heritage language, that's another great example of a best practice, right? So using that, because then students are engaged who might not want to be, and then things start to click, and they're like, oh, I'm understanding now those science terms that I didn't have before, because I've heard them in my native language now too. So there's a package of best practices really that you could put together to work, that are, you know, the ones that do it best are these types of wraparound schools. They start before school, they go after school, they don't take huge breaks for the summer, et cetera. So there's some ways to get to it that we can't afford, but there's some ways that we can move towards it for sure, and so.
So I have 3 people on the list. Dr. Z, Deb, and Andrew. Dr. Z, do you want to speak now? No? You want to keep waiting?
I'm
Okay.
gonna wait, I'm taking
I'm
notes.
going to make one quick comment. I was an educator. I grew up in Texas. I think different people have different ideas of canned curriculum. When I say canned curriculum, I do not mean a script that a teacher reads. I mean a curriculum that is developed at a national level by experts, bigger than we are at our district. And then those are curriculum ideas and materials that then are shared with teachers. I would never want to take away the creativity of a teacher. When I say canned curriculum, I mean a national developed curriculum that has been developed through experts, not scripted. I would never want scripted. And so I think maybe there's some misunderstandings of canned curriculum.
I'm waiting to address all of
Anyway,
it.
so Deb, you're up.
Okay, take a walk with me. I'm going to say 3 things. Just measure your own internal reaction. Block schedule. Does it meet equity goals? Because you can have the lack of wraparound, right? So you can have math and not math for another year. Can we afford it? Will we commit to it? Will we be willing to push back on the people who say, block schedule works really well for my X, Y, and Z? I don't know, it's more expensive. I don't understand how, but that's what I've been told. So think about giving up block schedule. How are you feeling? Think about giving up AP. Dr. Z and I had this conversation in the very, very beginning. I am not a fan of a curriculum owned by the College Board, the nonprofit, very well-heeled College Board, and I'll tell you why. It's test focused, and you add that to a block schedule, and you have testing all the time. Like every 2 weeks, you have a test. And from my experience as an educator, the students that can keep pace with AP crammed into 1.5 quarters or 1 quarter are not the students we're trying to support. So are we willing to give up AP and have our educators develop their own higher level medium courses, because we've got the APs and we've got the honors and we have the CPs. This used to be a school that supported a much larger range of curricula. And we don't do that anymore because we don't have the student body. So we have divided our student body. And that's what you see at every level. That's what you see in terms of where students are going when they leave, what courses they have. I don't know how to get to this issue of whether or not students can leave the high school with that kind of college credit behind them with AP, when we have the disparity in students who are able to take AP, are able to be successful in AP, and are able to provide that. People hire tutors. They do. So where are we? Are we really, really, really willing to do that, and I'm not sure we are. I mean, I would love to see it. I'm down for it, but that's not been my experience in this town.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, and thank you, everyone. Thank you for what I'm just starting to learn, and I really appreciate it. Is there an intervention plan for the 7th and 8th math? And is that, maybe that's for you, is there ownership to it, and is it being implemented? And then the other part I just wanted to say was, for restorative justice, I really want to learn more. I think that's awesome, and I'm excited to learn more.
So I have one last person that had signed up before you, Dr. Z.
Go right ahead.
Is anyone else?
I just have a very quick thing.
Okay, so Tim, Laura Jane, and then we're going to go to Dr. Z.
I'm not really familiar with the block scheduling issue. I don't have any commitment either way, but I do agree that it is very important for schools and educators and school committees and boards and everyone involved to start confronting advanced placement courses. I don't think that it is a good system. I think that it has become normalized as a way to track students and separate them. I don't think that it is a good thing, but it's not going to be easy to confront. I think it is something that we should figure out how to start confronting and be vocal about. I think it is a baked in inequity.
I just add for the AP that I've been in school buildings that had AP or IB and then went to early college, and early college can work to, especially when on the in-between days, they have a lot of support from traditional educators, and then say Tuesday and Thursday they go for the college class and they come back and they get support with the work and the projects and that type of thing. That it can be a situation where there's a lot more differentiation, a lot more support, and in math as well. Everybody thinks math needs to be segregated, but there's tremendous research on using systems and process, one that are self-regulated learning, and the second thing is having experts and non-expert learners in the same classroom, because they both learn more that way. So my
Or
2
Jane?
cents.
The one thing I was going to say was that the high school did send out something recently offering students who met one of 5 categories, underserved, parents didn't have bachelor's degrees, can't remember the other ones are, but an opportunity to take one free college class. And I don't think it even said like what grade you had to be in high school, but it was like, I think, so I just wanted to, like, I was so excited when I saw that, and I was like, why is this, like, why don't we have this program with Amherst College, like, as a regular thing? I don't, whatever, but anyway, it was cool, so that's one positive.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Z.
If I say something that is offensive, please let me know, and I will apologize afterwards. It's not my intent, but I will not know what the impact. As the most melanated person in this room, I'm going to speak on behalf of the children of color and say that the one thing that they definitely need is consistency. The one thing that they need for us to do is to look and see what they are being taught, how they are being taught, provide clear directional feedback. There's a lot of, as a person who spent their entire professional career in education, who at 19 returned home and somehow ended up teaching in a private school for the first 4 years with limited educational experience and then committed to education, where my bachelor's, master's, EDS, and EDD are all in education. I'm going to tell you that the first thing we need the school committee to understand is what is the definition of a curriculum. Curriculum is what we expect our children to learn. It is a series of lessons, objectives, and assessments. What we use, and I had this conversation with the team, for me, there are parts of this discussion that is very unnerving. Every curriculum resource, everything that we have, nothing is going to address every gap in education that is faced in front of us. No one curricular resource can do that, not even something that a teacher makes. However, when a teacher sits to write their lesson plan, there is a core curricular material or resource that guides them. There is a standard that we have been set in front of them. When they have that standard in front of them, what they should do to build a lesson plan is start with something so simple as, what is my objective? Here are the resources. A teacher can take a standard. They can have the Ready Common Core in front of them, and that can be a supplement to them teaching from a novel. I have taught children from novels, newspapers, poems, and still had the core curricular material in front of me. There's supplementals. There's also the use of data to differentiate instruction. That is a word that we should be looking at. We're talking about universal design of learning. Varying your instructional strategies. If teachers don't know who is sitting in front of them, how can they teach them? If you do not know what my instructional gaps and my academic gaps are, how can you teach me? And I know there's been a lot of conversation. For example, right now we have iReady as our diagnostic, which is supposed to be an instructional tool that tells us how our children are doing in reading and in math. When they take that, it says, okay, based on a fourth grade standard in algebraic thinking, this is where they're supposed to be at this point of the school year, but they're scoring at 2 grade levels below. That report will also tell us, here are the things that that student can do. So you can build on their strengths, and here's what that student can't do. It is about how we take what we have and educate who is sitting in front of us. This is not an oddity, but the gap is widening. The conversation that Deb's question is very, very, very serious. What are we going to do when the loud voices enter this room? And I said it at the beginning, are you willing to commit to the work that has to be done? There's also a commitment to choice. Choice in instruction for children. Yes, AP may be college tests and it may be, the numbers may be small for our children of color. But are we looking at our program of studies or at our graduation pathways, at our competency determinations to see if that is where the equity gaps lie? To determine that we're making sure that the pathway set forward, that each child that walks through our doors have an option and a pathway to move forward. I'm hearing individuals talk about canned curriculum, scripted curriculum. I started Googling to see what is called canned curriculum. What is called scripted curriculum? Regardless of who the teacher is, teachers should have choice, but we need to set the direction, and we need to make sure there is a consistency in implementation. But that is not something that is standardized. Standardization and consistency is one of the things that we are working on. That is why you're asking a question about 7-8. That is why Tim is saying, hey, well, why aren't district policies being followed? Because we have to be able to stand firm in what we expect. We are not going, when the first set of gaps were identified, the instructional practice was everyone had their different curriculums at that point, right? Everyone was doing what they wanted to do. We have something that's more standardized now. It's about year 5 in implementation, and we haven't really fully implemented to see where that is and how do we use it. And we still have gaps. Can we really have the depth of conversation of saying that perhaps it is a multi-pronged approach of strengthening instructional practices, looking at our system to make sure there is consistency and fluency in our system, determining not just what the resource is, but what the multiple resources are that we will need our teachers to have access to, or strategies and supports for them to move forward. Are we reducing transitions in critical areas? Are we really sitting down and talking to all facets of educators, not just the loudest voices in the rooms, or not just our people who send us emails? Are we really taking a deeper dive into what it is that our children actually need? Are we sticking to the core of the programs that we develop? If Caminantes was developed to bridge a gap, how did it transition into what it is today? And do we need to come back to that core and see if we've met those things? And maybe stop creating programs and not putting metrics in place to make sure we know and measure the outcomes. So I sat down here, and the key things that I wrote down is there's a lot of insightfulness and want for transparency, but there's not the push to make sure that the transparency and the systems that need to be in place are there. Because if we're talking about, I wrote all kind of scribble on this paper, by the way. There's not a permanent, there's not a pill, there's not a seed that we can plant that's going to be the fix for all. But what we need to do is really commit to the fact that, yes, change is going to have to come. There's going to be some discomfort. But if we're doing this for children, and we need to have the insight and the transparency and build the systems for it to be executed. We need to make sure that we know that it's not just about curricula pieces. It's about the standard that we want to move toward and providing those resources, and how are we going to align and make sure that we are measuring and seeing what those outcomes are, and are we doing that? Are we course correcting? So when we have all these conversations, let's make sure we start from a place of knowing, a place of openness, but a true commitment. I go back to the document that was developed when you guys started the superintendent search, and one thing that stood out to me was you need someone with a backbone. But if we are talking about creating a system for all, I need my school committee members to start to stand firm in, this is what we're going to do, and this is what we need to see, and this is how it's going to look. I can commit to equity, but what does that mean? Because we all sit here with our own definitions of what equity is. I can commit to trying to work to close the gap, but that's going to make some people very uncomfortable, and it's going to make some people very unhappy. And when that happens, I really, come tell me, but remember now that I'm working towards the goal of making sure that the system serves all. And it's going to look different. I'm done.
Thank you. Do y'all have any other?
Just one closing, like one thought that I have about it is like, it's really about, we have the numbers, but we need a different type of equity audit to really see where are those practices failing the specific kids. And it's not just academic. We've had a lot of discussion about academic, but it's culture, climate, belonging, and how we approach kids of color with discipline, and you know, all our equity groups with discipline, the different ways we're approaching the different groups of kids is you know, really not right. So I hope, I mean, I would really like to have a retreat where this is one of our goals as a committee of the three. I think the other one we've correctly identified as budget, and the third one, you know, you guys have fun. But I think that we're not really doing the right thing if we don't look at this. We probably also, on top of it, are capping out on growth as we can as a system. If we're making these growth gains of 10 points, of 13 points, et cetera, you're in, but more than half of your students are students of color, or students in a high need, or in a one of those groups. We may reach the cap anyway. So in order to raise the school overall, this is the group we need to focus on. So those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is forums for conversation, and not like this, but then a lot others, and ways to have a lot of different kinds of conversations with families, with students, with clubs, with, you know, just like really brainstorm about how, and then how to bring the seeds of those conversations forward. You know, you don't just let them drop, but how to somehow bring it forward.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our new and continuing business. We have our consent agenda. I am going to pull the gifts out of that. So we have a slew of warrants for the last 3 months that have been attached.
I move to approve the warrants and minutes.
We don't have any minutes.
I approve move to approve the warrants, or to accept the warrant? I don't even know. We don't have to approve them.
You approve the consent agenda.
There is no, but there's nothing to consent to, except
Oh,
the only
okay.
thing we vote on is the gifts.
Okay, so we
That's
don't
the
have
only
to
thing.
vote on the consent agenda tonight then, if I pull the gifts out? Okay. So we will go into the gifts then. Go ahead.
I move to accept the following gifts. Bank of America from David Rosman Trust for the Amherst Pelham School District gift for $63,500. Wow. From donor Wheeler and Taylor DBA Jubenfile Insurance, number 10402, to support high school scholarship in memory of Leonard Pratt for $100. And from donor Dean's Beans, number 6355, to support high school social justice scholarship in the amount of $500, for a total of $64,100.
Amazing. Second.
All those in favor of accepting the gifts?
Thank you.
And I would say thank you to everyone who, for Dean's Beans, Wheeler and Taylor, DBA Jubenaville Insurance, and also, I guess, to the David Rosman Trust.
May I ask Dr. Z a question? If, was the gift, the $63,000, $500, was there any specific intention attached to that, or?
I'm not
is
sure.
Any idea what the district may want to do with that?
I'm not
or-
sure. I'm gonna check with the treasurer and budget office tomorrow on that one. But thank you so much
Yeah.
for the invitation.
Amazing. Thank you.
So, in the meeting closings, we have future agenda planning. Tim?
I don't have the language in front of me, but we, heard from the community, wanting to know more about the lead testing that took place, I think, in January. And so I would like to request that for a future agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Anna?
I was wondering when the appropriate time to get a report on a few like data points, like absenteeism at different levels, and then disciplinary statistics, like how much are different types of discipline being used, and then some bit of breakdown among different groups, some disaggregation, and another update on the BRIM bullying.
Andrew?
Yeah, I would just love a presentation on restorative justice and the story or the thread of how it was cut in 2023 and the impacts.
Any other things? Okay, so then,
Do you want the,
what's up at the next meeting?
yep.
Okay, so on our yearly calendar of one of our unread goals that Sarah Beth achieved is for June, we have the superintendent evaluation report. We have the 26-27 professional development calendar, the 26-27 fee schedule, the audit review, the presentation of school climate data collection and analysis, school committee self-evaluation, and invite new high school principal is on for the 23.
All of those things are going to happen?
That's what,
That's what's on our list,
A good one.
and then I will have agenda planning.
Okay.
do you want to talk about the 10th?
The 10th? Sure, so the 10th is tomorrow. It's my understanding that the posting did not get posted for all the towns. So we are canceling the regional joint meeting with the region with Amherst and Pelham. We're moving that to the 17th at 6:30, so next Wednesday. We still have our meeting on the 10th, tomorrow. That is Union 26 and the region. Unit 26 is going to reorganize, and then there is an executive session
So that is
6
tomorrow
o'clock.
at 6 o'clock. We had scheduled it earlier for 6 PM because it was gonna be prior to the other meeting.
Yeah, so
It's happening at 6 o'clock.
And it's in person.
It's in person.
Here.
here.
And is
Should we
there
just
a Zoom
stay?
available?
We're
And-
working on it.
Yes. For the executive, we'll have a Zoom link, yes. We will have a link, because I know some people will not be able to be here. So we are working on that. I think that is everything. So
I move we adjourn.
thank you.
Sarah Bess.
Nope, that's it. I'm
want
gonna
a
move to
second?
adjourn. Yep, I'll
All those
second
in
it.
favor? Thank you. And I have a lot to learn.